Let's talk about the shiny objects in your personal finances and why they could actually do more harm to you than good. I talk to many people about their personal finances every single day. And the one thing that I kind of take away from people that are just starting are they are maybe living paycheck to paycheck, and understandably so. They're trying to find ways to make more income, which I understand, that makes a lot of sense. But the approach they take is just, it doesn't make any sense. They're talking about jumping into certain areas of investing where they have zero skills in. They're like, oh, hey, I saw this thing online about day trading and I think I could really be successful. And there's this course that I saw and I really think it could work for me. Or like, hey, I see people making all this money on cryptocurrency and how do I get to be a part of that? Or this one guy was like, yeah, I saw this thing online where people rent houses and it just is super simple and blah, 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 blah. And the truth is, like, you need to be looking at this from a perspective of you have zero knowledge about the thing that you're talking about. Most likely you have zero knowledge and you're only looking at the like highest of highs of upside, and you have no thought to what the downside of this shiny object could be for you. And again, a lot of these people are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't really have a good handle on their finances. And I don't mean that because they're living paycheck to paycheck, they don't have a good handle, but it's because they're not budgeting, or they are trying to get to these financial goals, but they don't know how to get there. They have no starting point. Okay. So the first thing I would recommend before you jump into these shiny objects is do the boring work. And the boring work is tracking your finances. It could be as simple as just knowing how much money's in your bank account. It could be putting all your debt onto a debt payment calculator to see how long it's going to take you to pay off your debt in your current situation, how long you could pay it off in a situation where you're adding more money to it. You could be tracking your net worth. There's all these things that you could be tracking, and most people are not. And I understand it. It's tedious. It seems like busy work. People get overwhelmed with like spreadsheets or apps or things that they don't fully understand right away. But on the other side of all of this effort is an opportunity for you to create financial goals that could possibly change your life. And I mean that sincerely. So my name's Chris. I've been an accountant now for 10 years. My wife and I use the same strategy that I'm talking about to pay down $43,000 worth of debt in a year. And now we have over a $1 million net worth. And it's because we did the boring stuff. Guess what? We budgeted, we tracked our debt, we tried to pay it down faster, and now we're tracking our net worth. I actually hate net worth for that sort of reason. It's not to brag or anything like that. It's just to see like, okay, overall, how is everything going with this? Because our financial goals aren't done. We still have other financial goals that we need to meet. And part of that is money that we're creating in different brokerage or investing accounts. But back to you. So what I see a lot of times is, and it kind of goes into this shiny object syndrome, where people are not willing to build the foundation of their personal finances, which again is tracking. And instead they want to just throw money at this thing that they have no knowledge on. And they're just hoping that $100 can turn into $1,000 in like a week. And you're just not being realistic. Like, the chances of you losing that $100 are most likely greater than you gaining that $1,000. Because when you start a new thing, you have uninformed optimism. That means that you have no information, but people online are talking about it, and that must mean that it works, right? And then you dig a little deeper, maybe you've invested some money and you find out that, ooh, this is a little harder than I thought. And you start to have informed pessimism. You're starting to get a little more negative on the topic. You have more information now, and wow, isn't that shocking to find out that it's not as easy as it seems. And then you keep going down until you finally just jump out of it because you're uncomfortable and you don't have enough information on it. And then instead of maybe just going back to the basics, you do the same circle again, where you try to find this new hack or quick, get rich quick scheme online, and you do the same thing. You're like, oh wow, people online are making this. Uninformed optimism. Oh wow, this is much harder than I thought. Informed pessimism. And then you go through the same cycle and you keep losing your $100 every time, instead of just building your foundation. Build your financial foundation. Start to budget, start to track. You don't even know if you can quote unquote afford this, $100 thing to make quote unquote $1,000. Because a lot of times when people start budgeting, they just find money in their finances. Or think about budgeting like this. Many people think that budgeting is a restrictive action against their lifestyle, against the money that they do or do not make, and that's why many people don't do it. But instead of thinking about it as restrictive, I want you to start thinking about it as intentionality. So until I start making buildings that do not have a foundation on them and there's just floating material on the third floor. You got to start with the foundation, right? It's the same thing with your personal finances. You can't build the first floor without the foundation. You can't build the second floor without the first floor. You can't build the third floor without the second floor. And too many people are trying to build the third floor or even higher, which is crazy. So get your stuff in order before you start like trying to have your money make money, because quite honestly, you're not even that good at making money. And I don't mean that to be mean or anything, but like if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're either not making enough money or your lifestyle is way too extreme for the amount of money that you make. So before you learn how your money can make you money, start figuring out better ways to optimize the money that you are making. And yes, sometimes that is increasing your income. Sometimes that is reducing your expenses. And sometimes that is a combination of the two. But once you start tracking your finances, once you start becoming more intentional with your money decisions, once you start just understanding how to create a financial goal and why knowing the starting point is everything in your personal finances, you're gonna wanna stop putting your attention and your time and your money towards these other opportunity vessels. But don't forget that money is not the only currency, because time is also a currency. So some people might say, oh yeah, it was just $100. I just wanted to see how this thing worked. You're also putting in the time to understand how that thing worked, the time to maybe do some research, the time to watch a video on YouTube. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're really struggling with your finances, think about how much money you make per hour, and then think about all the time that you're wasting putting towards these things that may or may not help you in the long run. All right, guys, another quick hitting video there. If you like these personal finance videos every day being uploaded onto YouTube, make sure to smash the like button. I will see you in the next one.